Did you find this video or did it find you? The algorithm doesn't make mistakes. You're here because something big is about to happen in your life. A shift, a change, a transformation. Look around you. Does everything feel slightly different? That restlessness in your chest, that feeling that something needs to change, it's not random. It's the universe signaling that you're at a crossroads. Life-changing moments don't announce themselves with fanfare. They creep in quietly, disguised as ordinary days, until suddenly nothing is the same anymore. Right now, you're standing on the edge of one of those moments. This video appeared in your feed because you're ready. Even if you don't know it yet, the signs have been there, the subtle nudges, the recurring thoughts, the strange coincidences. What you'll learn today isn't just motivational fluff. These are the hidden patterns that precede major life transitions, the psychological triggers that activate before transformation, the subtle signals most people miss until they look back and say, that's when everything changed. Stay with me. By the end, you'll recognize exactly where you are in your journey and what's coming next. The change is already in motion. The question is, are you ready to embrace it? There comes a time when everything familiar starts to feel like a prison. That job you once loved, now just hours to endure. Relationships that used to energize you, now drain your spirit. Activities that brought joy, now hollow routines. This isn't simple boredom. It's your inner self sending signals that growth is overdue. Most people ignore these feelings, dismissing them as mere discontent. But that restlessness serves a purpose. It's the first sign that your life is preparing for transformation. When comfort becomes uncomfortable, change isn't just coming, it's necessary. Pay attention to coincidences that keep appearing, books with messages that seem written just for you, conversations that trigger deep reflection, names or numbers that show up repeatedly. These aren't random events. They're patterns trying to catch your attention. Jung called them synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that occur when your subconscious recognizes what your conscious mind hasn't yet accepted. Dreams become more vivid during pre-change periods. Old memories surface without explanation. People from your past suddenly reappear. Each instance might seem insignificant alone, but together they form a clear message. Prepare yourself. Notice how you've started questioning things you once accepted without thought, why certain relationships function as they do, why you chose your career path, why some habits persist despite no longer serving you. These questions don't arise randomly. They emerge when your mind is ready to break established patterns. Sleep disturbances often accompany this phase. Waking at strange hours, difficulty falling asleep despite physical exhaustion. Your body processes impending change even while resting. Emotions intensify during pre-transformation periods. Small frustrations trigger disproportionate reactions. Joy feels more profound. Sadness cuts deeper. This emotional sensitivity isn't weakness. It's heightened awareness as your system prepares for recalibration. Physical space often reflects internal states. Sudden urges to declutter, rearranging furniture, changing your appearance. These actions symbolize making room for what's coming next, clearing space both literally and figuratively for new growth. Growth requires destruction, not the dramatic explosive kind, but the quiet dismantling of what no longer fits. Discomfort arrives not as an unwelcome guest, but as a necessary catalyst. That unease you feel, it's simply your system recognizing that maintaining old patterns costs more than creating new ones. Caterpillars liquefy inside their chrysalis before becoming butterflies. Their cells completely break down before reorganizing into something new. Human transformation follows similar patterns. relationships, careers, beliefs, all must partially dissolve before reforming into something better. This biological imperative explains why change feels so viscerally uncomfortable. Most resist this natural discomfort. Hearts race when considering life changes. Stomachs tighten when faced with new opportunities. Bodies react with fight or flight responses when security feels threatened, even by positive changes. Sweaty palms before accepting promotions, insomnia before moving to better homes. Physical symptoms signal not danger but potential growth. Emotional resistance manifests in predictable ways. Procrastination disguises itself as preparation. Just one more research article before deciding. Just one more course before applying. These aren't legitimate delays, but protection mechanisms against discomfort. Fear creates endless prerequisites that postpone transformation indefinitely. Self-sabotage emerges when change looms imminent. Arguments with supporters, small rebellions against progress, retreating to harmful habits right before breakthroughs. These aren't character flaws, but unconscious attempts to remain in familiar territory, even when that territory causes pain. Transformation anxiety has distinct characteristics from general worry. General anxiety lacks direction. Transformation anxiety targets specific changes with precise doubts. What if I'm not qualified? What if relationships change? What if I succeed then fail? These questions don't seek answers, they seek permission to avoid growth. Paradoxically, resistance intensifies directly proportional to how necessary the change has become. The more urgent the transformation, the stronger the pushback from within. This explains why major life improvements often follow periods of maximum discomfort. Breaking points become breakthrough points when properly navigated. Disrupted sleep patterns signal imminent transformation. Dreams become unusually vivid. Old memories surface without prompting. Mental loops of worst-case scenarios play on repeat. All indicate a psyche preparing for metamorphosis. Life breaks into distinct chapters, each separated by transitional events that permanently alter our trajectory. Moving to new cities creates complete identity resets. Different friends, routines, and versions of ourselves emerge. Career changes force evolution beyond simple skill acquisition. They reshape priorities, connections, and self-perception. Relationships beginning or ending rewrite our daily existence in ways both subtle and profound. Health diagnoses transform perspective overnight. Priorities clarify with stunning speed when mortality enters direct view. Financial windfalls or losses similarly recalibrate what matters. Abundance reveals true desires while scarcity exposes essential values. Both extremes trigger identity reconsolidation. Parenthood represents perhaps the most complete transformation possible. Previous versions of self dissolve when responsibility for another life begins. Sleep patterns, social connections, resource allocation all reconfigure around this new center of gravity. Nothing remains untouched. Every major transition follows predictable psychological stages. First comes ending, releasing grip on previous identities and expectations. This manifests as grief even during positive changes. Parts of self must die for new growth to occur. Denial, anger, bargaining, these aren't just responses to loss, but essential components of healthy transition. Next arrives the neutral zone, that disorienting period between identities. Neither fully past nor fully future, this liminal space feels like floating without reference points. Confusion reigns. Direction seems absent. Energy depletes without obvious cause. This stage, though uncomfortable, serves as crucial incubation for what comes next. Finally, beginnings emerge, tentative steps into new identity. Excitement mixes with uncertainty. Confidence builds through small wins. New patterns solidify through repetition. This stage requires protective boundaries as fragile new aspects of self strengthen gradually. These transitions matter because they form inflection points in life's narrative. Small decisions during these periods magnify over time. Patterns established during transition tend to persist long after. Resources invested, whether emotional, financial, or relational, compound through subsequent years. Major transitions also reveal fundamental truths hidden during stable periods. Values clarify under pressure. Relationships demonstrate their actual strength. Personal resilience becomes measurable rather than theoretical. Each transition serves as both test and teacher, revealing what truly matters while developing capacity for future changes. Problems come disguised as breaking points rather than breakthrough opportunities. Financial setbacks force innovation never considered during comfort. Job losses push exploration of passions long ignored. Relationship endings create space for self-rediscovery. These disruptions serve as nature's reset button, painful yet purposeful course corrections when life has drifted from authentic paths. Most avoid obstacles instinctively. Fight or flight responses activate. Hearts race. Stress hormones flood systems. Bodies prepare for danger rather than opportunity. This biological reaction made perfect sense for ancestral threats, but misinterprets modern challenges. Physical symptoms, racing thoughts, shallow breathing, muscle tension, signal not impending doom, but potential transformation. Neurologically, difficulties create unexpected benefits. Brain plasticity increases during periods of challenge. Neural pathways reorganize more readily when facing novel problems. Learning accelerates despite discomfort, perhaps because of it. Studies show information retention improves under moderate stress conditions compared to complete comfort. Challenges literally reshape cognitive function. Resilience develops exclusively through difficulty. Muscles grow through resistance training, never through avoidance. Emotional strength follows identical principles. Each overcome obstacle creates psychological antibodies against future challenges. This explains why those who face significant hardship often demonstrate remarkable stability during crises that destabilize others. Behind every problem hides specific growth opportunities. Financial challenges develop resource management skills and clarify true priorities. Health issues increase body awareness and appreciation for capability. Relationship difficulties refine communication abilities and boundary setting practices. Professional setbacks build humility and adaptability. Each challenge contains precisely the lesson most needed. Doorways appear most clearly once obstacles seem insurmountable. Breaking points precede breakthroughs with remarkable consistency. Moments of complete surrender often directly precede unexpected solutions. This pattern explains why many successful people report their biggest innovations emerged during their darkest periods. Creativity activates most powerfully when conventional approaches have exhausted themselves. Challenges strip away pretense. Personas drop during crisis. Authentic preferences emerge when resources constrain. True friends reveal themselves during difficulty. Core values clarify when decisions carry consequences. This purification process, though painful, leaves behind only what genuinely matters: relationships, principles, and desires tested through adversity rather than merely imagined during ease. Self-sabotage operates beneath conscious awareness, silent programming running destructive scripts. Perfectionism disguises itself as high standards while preventing action. Procrastination masquerades as preparation, but blocks progress indefinitely. Negative self-talk appears as realism rather than the attack it truly represents. These patterns persist not because they benefit us, but because they feel familiar. And familiar discomfort often wins against unfamiliar potential. Signs of self-sabotage appear consistently for those willing to look. Starting projects with enthusiasm, then abandoning them just before completion, creating unnecessary drama during periods of success. Becoming ill before important opportunities, making decisions that conflict with stated goals, missing deadlines despite adequate time. Each behavior points to internal conflicts between conscious desires and unconscious resistance. Breaking patterns requires first noticing them without judgment. Simple awareness creates space between trigger and response. That microscopic pause, noticing the urge to check social media rather than immediately doing so, recognizing the impulse to dismiss praise rather than automatically deflecting it, contains all potential for change. Changes measured in millimeters create movement measured in miles when consistently applied. Daily choices accumulate with compound interest. Morning routines set neurological patterns for entire days. Information consumption shapes thought patterns more than most realize. Social circles influence beliefs and behaviors invisibly but profoundly. Small dietary choices affect energy levels which impact decision quality. Sleep habits determine cognitive function. Each seemingly minor decision creates ripple effects through all aspects of life. Releasing outgrown patterns often triggers grief, even when those patterns caused pain. Familiar suffering provides certainty, while growth promises only possibility. Comfort zones earn their name regardless of their quality. This explains why people remain in situations objectively causing harm: jobs, relationships, locations, habits. Breaking free requires mourning what's lost, alongside celebrating what's gained. Attachment to identity creates particular resistance. "I've always been this way" becomes both prison and excuse. Growth demands periodic identity death, willingness to release who you've been to become who you might be. Intuition communicates through subtle channels most have been conditioned to ignore. Quick flashes of insight without logical origin. Gut reactions occurring before conscious thought. Dreams containing solutions to unasked questions. These messages originate from parts of brain processing information below conscious threshold, pattern recognition systems operating faster than rational thought. This explains why intuitive hits often arrive fully formed rather than through step-by-step reasoning. Physical sensations accompany intuitive guidance. Lightness in chest when considering beneficial choices, heaviness when facing decisions misaligned with authentic paths, energy surges towards certain people, opportunities, or ideas, dread or fatigue when contemplating others despite apparent benefits. Bodies register truth before minds rationalize alternatives. Evolutionary wisdom preserved despite cultural dismissal. Modern life trains constant external focus, productivity, social approval, entertainment, creating intuition blindness. Internal signals grow weaker from neglect or louder through dysfunction. Anxiety disorders often begin as ignored, intuitive warnings that escalate when unheeded. Chronic conditions sometimes represent prolonged misalignment between chosen paths and authentic directions. Bodies communicate first through whispers, then through shouts when whispers meet dismissal. Learning to trust intuition requires recalibration. Start with low-stakes decisions where conscious thought helps little. What meal feels right? Which route seems better? Track these choices and their outcomes, building evidence for intuitive accuracy. Gradually apply to larger decisions, developing discernment between fear-based reactions and genuine guidance. Bodies signal important life changes through consistent patterns. Sleep disruptions often precede major shifts. Digestive issues frequently accompany resistance to necessary transitions. Unusual energy levels, either surges or depletions, mark periods before transformation. These symptoms aren't random malfunctions, but meaningful communications from systems designed to maintain alignment. Inner guidance speaks most clearly during silence. Meditation creates space between thoughts where intuitive messages emerge. Nature immersion reduces sensory overload, allowing subtler signals through. Morning journaling captures insights before rational mind fully activates. Regular periods of stillness strengthen receptivity to internal wisdom that continuous activity drowns out. Starting requires overcoming physics and psychology simultaneously, breaking both inertia and fear. Objects at rest remain at rest until sufficient force applies. Minds function similarly. Beginning anything new activates ancient survival circuits designed to conserve energy and avoid risk. This biological resistance manifests as sudden fatigue when sitting down to write, mysterious urgency to clean refrigerators before working out, compelling needs to research endlessly rather than taking action. These aren't character flaws, but evolutionary safeguards designed for different environments. Analysis paralysis strikes most painfully at beginnings. Options appear limitless. Perfect paths seem essential. Each potential mistake looms catastrophic rather than instructive. This perfectionism paralyzes progress completely. Yet decisions rarely require perfection, merely movement. Most successful people describe their starts not as brilliant strategy, but as simple motion, sustained long enough to generate feedback. Direction emerges through movement rather than preceding it. Momentum builds through tiny, consistent actions rather than occasional heroic efforts. 5 minutes of daily practice outperforms 5 hours once monthly. Small wins create neurological rewards that strengthen new neural pathways. Each completed action, regardless of size, produces evidence contradicting limiting beliefs about capability. This evidence accumulates, creating identity shifts that make continued action natural rather than forced. Starting steps require radical simplification, writing one sentence rather than planning entire books, making one healthy meal rather than designing complete nutrition systems, sending one email rather than building comprehensive networks. These micro steps bypass resistance by appearing too small to trigger threat responses. Motion, once initiated, tends to continue through its own momentum. Permission to begin imperfectly unlocks action immediately. First attempts inevitably contain flaws, not because of personal inadequacy, but because mastery develops through iteration. Initial drafts exist not as final products, but as necessary material for revision. First workouts build capacity for better workouts rather than representing peak performance. Beginnings serve as creation points for raw material that improvement processes later refine. All significant achievements began as imperfect first attempts. Books started as terrible drafts. Businesses launched with flawed models. Relationships initiated through awkward conversations. Expertise developed through embarrassing early efforts. Starting imperfectly isn't just acceptable, it's the only possible way forward. Uncertainty triggers fear at primal levels. Brains evolved seeking predictability. Survival once depended on reliable patterns. Food sources, predator behaviors, tribal dynamics all needed consistency. Modern minds still operate from this ancient programming, explaining why ambiguity creates such visceral distress. Heart rates increase, breathing shallows, thoughts race toward worse scenarios. Bodies prepare for threats that rarely materialize in contemporary uncertainty. Courage derives not from fearlessness, but from moving forward despite fear. Every meaningful growth experience involves venturing beyond known territories. Career changes, new relationships, creative pursuits, each requires stepping into spaces without guaranteed outcomes. This willingness to proceed without certainty separates those who evolve from those who stagnate. Growth happens exclusively at edges of comfort, never within their centers. Life-changing moments never arrive with complete clarity. Job offers come with unknowns. Relationships begin without guaranteed endings. Projects launch without certain success. Waiting for perfect clarity ensures permanent stasis. Movement creates clarity rather than following it. Answers emerge through action, rarely before it. Questions resolve through experience, not anticipation. Stability amid uncertainty comes not from controlling external circumstances, but from developing internal anchors. Daily routines provide predictable rhythms during chaotic periods. Physical practices ground racing minds. Consistent values offer decision frameworks when paths seem unclear. These internal constants create stability regardless of external conditions. Discomfort serves as necessary catalyst for development. Muscles grow through resistance, never through ease. Skills develop through challenge, not through mastery of the already accomplished. Emotional resilience builds by navigating difficult feelings rather than avoiding them. Every significant capacity emerges from willingness to endure related discomforts. Growth requires regularly exceeding current capacities, speaking before feeling ready, accepting responsibilities beyond current abilities, attempting skills not yet mastered. This deliberate discomfort stretches capacity permanently. Comfort zones expand only through temporarily leaving them, never through remaining within their familiar boundaries. Neurologically, uncertainty creates ideal conditions for growth. Brain plasticity increases during novel experiences. Learning accelerates when outcomes remain unpredictable. Awareness heightens when familiar patterns no longer apply. These advantages explain why life's most significant developments typically follow periods of greatest uncertainty. This video found you because you stand at the threshold of transformation. Those feelings of restlessness, those recurring patterns, those questions emerging from deep within, they're all signaling what you already know. Change isn't just coming, it's already here. The discomfort you feel isn't weakness, it's growth demanding space to unfold. The uncertainty clouding your path isn't confusion, but possibility taking form. The resistance you experience isn't failure, but the necessary friction that precedes breakthrough. Life changes rarely announce themselves with clarity. They arrive disguised as challenges, wrapped in uncertainty, hidden within ordinary moments that only later reveal their significance. But now you recognize the signs. You understand the patterns. You see the opportunities disguised as obstacles. Take that imperfect first step. Trust the wisdom of your body's signals. Release what no longer serves you. Embrace the necessary discomfort that accompanies all meaningful growth. This video appeared in your feed precisely when you needed it most. The algorithm recognized what you're experiencing before you could name it yourself. If this message resonated with your current journey, hit that like button now. Subscribe to our channel for more insights that arrive exactly when you need them most. Your transformation has already begun.